So let's solve an equation involving polynomials. And so this equation says x minus 2 times 4x minus 1 equals 0. So what's important to know here is that this is two things being multiplied together. It's x minus 2, it's being multiplied by 4x minus 1, and the answer is 0. So when you multiply two things together and you get 0 as the answer, there's only one way that can happen. There's only one way you can multiply two things together and you get 0 for the answer, and that is if you multiply by 0. The only way you can multiply and the answer is 0 is if you multiplied by 0. So we multiplied the first set of parentheses by the second set of parentheses, and the answer was 0, and that gives us a valuable piece of information. It tells us either this set of parentheses is 0 or this set of parentheses equals 0. Either one of those could be true. If the first set of parentheses equals 0, the whole thing is 0. If the second set of parentheses equals 0, the whole thing is 0. So this problem has two answers. It's an equation with two correct answers. One of the correct answers is when x minus 2 equals 0, and the other correct answer is when 4x minus 1 equals 0. Both of those are correct answers, and we need to have both of them to get the correct solution. So one of these is really easy. X minus 2 equals 0. We just add 2 to both sides. And one of our correct answers is x equals 2. Done. Easy, easy, easy. The other one, not way harder, just 2 steps instead of 1. We want to figure out what x is, so we will add 1 to both sides, like so. We get 4x equals, and then 0 plus 1 is 1, and now we divide both sides by 4. And we could do 1 divided by 4 and get a decimal, but let's just leave it as a fraction, 1/4. So this has two answers. One of the answers is 2, and the other answer is 1/4. So this problem was fairly straightforward because it was already factored. It's already factored for us. Let's take a look at one that's not already factored. 4y equals 12y squared. Now the reason that previous problem was so simple for us to do, number one, it was already factored, and number two, it equaled 0. And any two things multiplied together equals 0. So in order to solve a problem like this, step number one is that we need to make the equation equal 0. So that's going to be our goal, is set the equation equal to 0. It must equal 0 first. And we could subtract 12y squared on both sides, and that would be fine. But since we're going to have to factor, I don't love starting our polynomial with a negative because then we have to factor a negative. And factoring in negatives, there's nothing wrong with it, but if we can avoid negatives, why not? So here we go. 0 equals 12y squared minus 4y. So that's what we need to factor, 12y squared minus 4y. I know I need to factor it because I know this problem's going to have two answers. And the reason I know it's going to have two answers is because the y is squared. This tells me there are two answers. If all I had in the problem was just a y, that would mean one answer. If it's got y squared, that means there are going to be two answers. Y to the third power means there will be three answers. Y to the fourth is four answers, and so on. Okay, there's no way for me to solve a problem that's got y squared and y in it without factoring. So we're going to factor this just like we always do, starting with looking for a greatest common factor. And the greatest common factor of 12y squared and 4y is going to be 4, because 12 and 4 can both be divided by 4, and they both have a y. So 12y. And then what's left? Well, 12y squared divided by 4y is 3y. 12y divided by 4y is 3y. And then 4y divided by 4y is 1. So there we go. 3y minus 1. We could check this using the distributive property. 4y times 3y is 12y squared, and 4y times 1 is 4y. Okay, so here's what this is saying. It's saying 4y times 3y minus 1 is 12y squared minus 4y. And it's saying that equals 0. So 4y is 0, or 3y minus 1 is 0. Because when we multiply two things together, one of them has to be 0. So either 4y equals 0, or 3y minus 1 equals 0. And we need both of those. Both of those are correct answers. Again, one of these is pretty easy. The one on the left is saying 4 times something is 0. Well, that's going to be 0. Divide both sides by 4 and we get y equals 0. So one of our answers is 0. And the other one is a two-step problem. So not way harder. Add 1 to both sides. We get 3y equals 1. And we'll divide both sides by 3. And we get y equals 1/3. So our two answers for this problem are 0 and 1/3. So when we are solving an equation, there are a couple of things we have to do. If it's not factored, it needs to be factored. But before we do that, we must make sure the problem equals 0. It has to equal 0 first, because the whole trick of this is if you're multiplying stuff together and the answer is 0, we know that the two things you're multiplying have to be, one or the other has to be 0. So the trick is set the equation equal to 0, factor it if it's not already factored, and then set each of the factors equal to 0, and that's how you solve it.